that's the price for life, but that's retail costs. If we start manufacturing stuff ourselves, like the bulletproof glass, when I looked it up.
Who is we?
We, the people that need a place. There's 3 million people in the United States right now that are living out of their cars. If you go to any Walmart, you'll see at least a dozen to 2 dozen cars parked there, and people inside sleeping. Those are people that are, they want to be safe, so Walmart has, security cameras. And just, try it for yourself, and, go to a Walmart at night, and you'll see.
So how do we manufacture everything you're talking about?
Well,
practically.
Right now, there are about, I don't know the number, but there's so many people that are retired architects, right? Retired engineers, that are just, that need, that can just volunteer their time, and sometimes in a disaster, you have these disaster relief volunteers that'll build a whole row of 2-story houses in just like 30 days. It'll take like 100 volunteers, and all just they'll build it.
So it has to be. So it has to be like a grassroots effort where people choose to do it, right, without caring about the money of it. Correct.
So, so the more than money is our group effort, because America was built on $24 trillion of free labor, right? And so they, that's something that people don't like to talk about, but it's something that we need to put on the forefront, because right now there are more black female engineers than any other ethnicity in the United States right now. But everyone's working for a major corporation, right? And of course everybody has to make a living, everybody's got a mortgage, lease, rent, light bill, utilities. You have, gas, which isn't cheap. Well, in Texas it might be a little bit cheaper than the rest of them. But, it's still, we have so much expenses, but when we come and unite, we can get rid of all of these expenses. We can get rid of that 30 and 40 year
all of them, or some of them.
Well, the people that want to participate. And so we want to we want to unite the most positive people, around the country, to come together and try to do something significant for ourselves. And so the vegan community, I visit a church every week just to try to get that a feel for how they operate, and what they believe, and because we want this to be a God based, God faith. We want to start it with the Lord, because that's something that, but we're not excluding anybody, even if you're an atheist or don't believe in God. Hopefully one day you can come to that realization that there is a creator,
if there are people who want to slaughter livestock because all they eat is meat, is that okay?
You know, it's a transition because it took me a long time to.
No, that's not the question.
Yeah.
Is it their choice, and do they get to reserve that choice?
Well, everybody has a choice. You know, you have a choice to.
A right is a better way to put it.
Yeah. Well, they do have a right, but what we want to do is start a city that's with clean energy food. And if they are going to slaughter that meat or whatever, we want to provide clean meats. So there's clean meats and there's unclean meats, and the Bible is very detailed in what we can and cannot eat. And now scientific research backs all of the information. It backs that, hey, swine, and there's a chapter that I was sharing with the Mormons just yesterday about the woman and 7 sons. And when you look at this, when you try to look it up on Google or ChatGPT, you can't find it. It was taken out. These books were taken out, but I have not ancient, but a very old antique Bible, so 1611, King James Version, which has the books that they hadn't taken out. And so the last book of the Old Testament ends with the 2nd Maccabees. And so chapter 7 talks about the woman and 7 sons, and how the king Antiochus, the king of Persia at the time, was forcing the Israelites to eat swine. And if they did it, then he would put them to death. And so these 7 sons and mothers sacrificed themselves one by one in the most torturous manner, not to eat swine's flesh. But here we are, as Christians and believers of the book. There's so many people that are there's so many. Swine is pretty much in everything. I try to get my parents.
Hey, what were you telling me earlier about that medicine that has pig in it?
Insulin. So yeah, that's exactly what I was just about to talk about. And so I try to convince my parents to stop taking their type 2 diabetic,
because they're Muslim.
And they're Muslim. I grew up Muslim, and pork is forbidden, just as it is in the Bible. And so they just would not let go of the insulin. They're like, you don't know what you're talking about. You're not a doctor. And so I told them, listen, it just gets worse and worse. You're getting addicted to this insulin, and you're just going to take it for the rest of your life. If you're sick, medicine is supposed to be used for just a small amount of time so that you get well and don't have to take that medicine anymore.
But that insulin that you can verify.
So the insulin that how it's made, and you can
look it up.
You can look it up, but there was also a show on how it's made.
Okay.
And they actually show, they actually secrete the insulin from the pancreas of a pig. They actually grow these pigs just for the insulin. That's why insulin is so expensive, because it comes from the pancreas of a pig. And so when they teach you in school that chimpanzees and humans are 99% DNA related, they fail to tell you that pretty much all life is, and so are pigs. And people that love dogs and cats and see it as an atrocity that people eat them overseas, which, I agree, but, swine is a much more intelligent animal. Every time they had a dog competition, and they put a pig in there, the pig always won. This happened numerous times. And so, if you're against eating a dog, what's worse than eating a dog is a hog. and so and not only that, but there's there's so many medical research backing, how with the tapeworm, and now there's a huge problem where people are getting tumor, what they think is a tumor on the CAT scan, and when the brain surgeon goes in for the surgery, come to find out it's actually a huge tapeworm that started growing sideways because they love fat.
Okay, so let's try to move forward a little bit. So basically what you're saying is there's some science behind.
Yeah, there's science behind the forbidden meat and the clean meat that we're supposed to eat.
And then what were you talking about before that?
And then even the clean meat, we're talking about fresh fruits and vegetables that have, when we grow them in a certain way, the beans and lentils, they have all the proteins necessary for us that meat contains. Actually, vegetable protein is 1,200% more absorbent in the body than meat is.
Let's avoid getting into the minutia of all of that, and let's revert back to how does this relate to what you're trying to do with Fruit City.
So, Fruit City now, we want to start building a state-of-the-art living that is designed to not only raise our standards of living, give us more ease and comfort, give us more time to spend with our families and spend exploring this beautiful earth, with thousands and millions of species, with the biodiversity that the Lord's created, and find the glory of God and all of these things. And so Fruit City is designed to give you more time and energy, to spend exploring the earth, cleaning the environment, and just doing voluntary work. It's designed to give everybody
Leisure time,
a PhD education level for every man, woman, and child.
Who wants it?
Free health care. Who wants free health care? I think everybody.
Well, I mean, whoever wants to get a PhD, that's what I meant.
Yeah, and whoever wants to have the best health care, not just free health care, but the best.
So not free, right? I mean, subsidized, included, right?
Included, right. And so what we want, and then we also want to generate a revenue for everyone, so that they have some residual income.
How would you define that, generating a revenue? I mean, how is that even possible in a world like this?
Okay, well, I think the best or most important thing, if you have a mountain full of gold, right, but yet the land is barren, there's been a drought for 10 years, and there's no more fruits and vegetables growing, and here I have, a garage full of food, but you have a mountain full of gold. What's more valuable at that time?
Well, it depends. I kind of lost your question because I'm also driving, but
so now what I'm trying to say is sometimes we take for granted there's a saying the best things in life are for free. We take for granted the air that we breathe sometimes. And so right now, even the air is being threatened, right? Houston doesn't have these zoning laws, and now you have all these factories and stuff dishing out all this pollution, and then the neighborhoods around those factories, you have these, people that are now having tumors and cancers at a much higher rate.
And then is that how gentrification happens?
Well, I don't know the details about gentrification, but what we want to do is build a society of our own, away from all of the, we don't want to just take over territory in urban areas and stuff like that. What we want to do is build a sound place somewhere